What influence do other people try to exert in your life when you quit drinking? And what can you do about it? This video is called Why Do Other People Get Upset When I Don't Drink? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Now, one of the shows that I like to watch is The Biggest Loser, especially the Australian version. It's a false reality, a manipulated reality. But there's a lot of truth in the show, behind the scenes and in the people, because you're able to see the journeys that some of these human beings are taking. And you can see the sort of journeys unfolding over the length of the show. Now, I like watching The Biggest Loser because of the transformations that these people are going through on a regular basis. You know, every season there's different people, and there's always somebody, a lot of people who go through these transformations. And it's not just transformations in their weight loss, but you know, on its own, that weight loss can be fairly impressive. But for me, it's the mental switches that they're able to flip on in their minds over the course of the show. And you can witness these people first opening up to the idea that what they have been doing to themselves has been slowly killing them. Then they see that there are alternatives. Then they see that they can take advantage of these alternatives, that they can take these alternative paths. Then they struggle, they fight against it, and they realize that they're winning, that they're capable of doing this, that they begin to sort of enjoy what they're doing, and they relish in the exercise routines and the nutrition, and they sort of accept it as a part of their lives. Now, of course, we're dealing with a false reality, like I said earlier. The Biggest Loser is a show that places people in a position that not many of us are ever going to be in, to be fortunate, you know. Now, once the show is over, the contestants have to go back to their own lives, and some of them go back to their old lives in a big way, you know, gaining back some or maybe all of the weight that they lost on the show. Now, unfortunately, I think that's sort of an inevitability in some respects. Like I said, the environment that these contestants are thrown into at the beginning of the show is perfect for weight loss. They have some of the top trainers in the world to teach them and to push them. And while they're on the show, they don't have to deal with the realities of life and of living. They don't have jobs to go to. They don't have families or children to look after. And for those months that they get to stay on the ranch or wherever it is, they live, eat, breathe, exercise, nutrition, and they get so much vital feedback from their trainers about their progress, about how they're doing. Now, the reason I'm talking about The Biggest Loser show in a video about people getting upset when you tell them you're not drinking alcohol anymore is because I read an article about how some of the contestants had split up with their partners, who, you know, got divorced and stuff when they got home. And once the finale was over and sort of reality struck, now it got me thinking about, you know, just relationships in general and that kind of thing in connection with quitting drinking. I mean, when you think about it, we choose our friends, our dates, girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives, all based around many different factors, but mainly about, you know, we're attracted because of our common interests, things that we have in common. And we meet people who are basically doing the things that we like to do. We're attracted to other people who like to share, who, you know, our likes and dislikes, generally speaking. Now, once people hook up with each other, whether that's boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, our lives become even more sort of interlinked with each other. And we not only share the same general interests, we also start sharing the same experiences, eating the same food, drinking the same types of drink, sitting next to each other as we watch the same movie, going to the same holidays. You know, our lives become intertwined based on each other's experience and those shared experiences that we now have. Now, what happens when you decide to make some changes in your life? Let's say you start to like something else. You develop interests in another area, sort of just outside of, you know, what you're normally going to do. Now, if these new interests are only small, most families can incorporate them, most couples can incorporate them into their lives. You and your partner just make adjustments in just the way you do things so that, these new found interests can be accommodated. And they generally just become absorbed into the greater picture. But what happens when those changes are radical? They're big changes. What happens when the changes you want to make are going to affect just many different aspects, many different areas of your life? Take for instance, quitting drinking. Now let's say that our biggest loser contestant returns home. We'll say it's a woman and we'll call her Jane. Now, she hasn't won the show, so she's not packing a large chunk of money after being on the show, but she's lost loads of weight. She's lost about 45% of her body weight, and she looks like a completely different person. She's lost 8 dress sizes, and her old clothes just don't fit her anymore. They're enormous. Now, her partner hasn't laid eyes on her since she left home to join the show in the first place. And when he sees her for the first time, he's absolutely gobsmacked. When someone loses weight at home, the changes are going to be very gradual. If they lose sort of large numbers on the scale each week, it's still going to be a gradual process. Now, Jane's 45% of her body weight is astonishing. And as she steps through the door for the first time, and her husband sees her for the first time, his mouth just drops open and he bursts into tears. He can't believe what he's seeing. He can't believe that this is the same person that left. He tells her she hasn't looked this good since their wedding day. She hasn't looked this healthy. Now, although the weight loss is important, it's not the end of it. To reach that kind of weight loss in such a short space of time, Jane has had to not only change her diet and her levels of exercise, but she's had to change her mindset completely. She's had a massive alteration in how she thinks. Now, as I said earlier, it's part of what I love about this show. It proves that even the most resistant people are capable of overcoming huge hurdles in their lives and changing mindsets that they thought were impossible to change, and doing all this in a matter of weeks. For Jane, gone are the trips to Burger King and Dunkin' Donuts or Taco Bell or all those fast food joints. Gone are the days of just sitting on the couch and watching the TV all night long. She doesn't want to do that anymore. And gone are all the days of the snacking, the dipping, the deep fat frying, the buttering, and all that kind of bad food. This person has returned from the ranch as an improved version of the person who left weeks ago. And she's got different motivations and different expectations. And she can't wait to share all these new experiences and all this new knowledge with her family, and especially her overweight husband. Now, the newly transformed version of Jane meets her old family, her old life, and there's going to be this inevitable conflict. Now, the family has been continuing with the old lifestyle for all this time. While she's been on the ranch, they've been doing the same old things. And they're not going to understand the changes that have actually taken place in Jane's head. They can see the obvious ones. I mean, Jane is physically half the person that she was. But they haven't got a clue about the mental mindset shift that's gone on in her mind and how that is going to affect everything else about her life and their lives. Now, this is the conflict. It's one of expectations. So what's going to happen to Jane now? How does she and her family deal with this conflict? The conflict might resolve itself in Jane slowly returning to her old life, regaining all the weight that she'd lost at the ranch and coming full circle back to her old mindset. The conflict also might resolve itself in Jane's family getting fully engaged in this new lifestyle, learning this new way of thinking, and just accepting that these changes are good and that they want to make these changes a part of their lives as well. Or, this is how I started this, as happens in many cases, the conflict is just too big to resolve. The new and the old just hit a brick wall and there's no compromise, so divorce happens. Now, think about this in terms of you quitting alcohol. That's the point. The alcohol is the first step of your personal change. So you want to get rid of that first, but it's not the final step. Quitting using alcohol is primarily about removing that behavior from your life, of stopping drinking this stuff. Now, in order to stop being a user, you have to change your lifestyle as well. As with Jane's example, much of your previous life depended, just surrounded this mindset that just doesn't benefit the life that you want to live anymore, the life you want to lead. To move forward and to transform into that new and improved version of yourself, you've got to lay open your day-to-day living and uncover which elements are going to hold you back. You have to honestly ask yourself which parts of your old life are not compatible with the new life that you want to lead. Like Jane's decision to not go to fast food restaurants anymore because they don't serve the type of food that she wants to eat now. We have to make some very similar decisions and changes in your life. You have to decide which parts of your life are not going to coexist with each other, which parts of your life are going to start knocking against each other, which parts of your life are going to be throwing constant temptations up into your face, which parts of your life are going to be reversing all that progress that you've started to make into your head, and sort of reversing it and altering the thinking back to your old state again. Then you need to sever some of these old connections, just get rid of them. And there's no doubt about it that a lot of these transformations are going to take some very tough emotional decisions on your part. You're going to have to decide which comes first, you and your future, or maintaining those parts of your old lifestyle that are sort of dragging you back. You'll never move forward if you don't make these tough decisions. Now, why does your drinking bother other people? That's the title of this video. And these hard decisions that you have to make, the ones that I was talking about earlier, the toughest of these are going to be those involving other people on a personal level. So they're going to affect your relationships with your family and your friends. Now, these important changes and the emotional decisions that are attached to them are going to affect all the people around you, but mostly the closer these people are to you, the more your relationship with them is going to be affected. Now, depending on how much you value that relationship with a particular person or how much the other person values their relationship with you, some tough calls are going to have to be made by you. So let's get one thing clear. Before anything else happens, when it comes to your health and your well-being, you have to think of yourself first because nobody else will. So you've got to take that into consideration first. And some people are going to be fully behind all the changes that you make in your life, all the changes that you're making for yourself. And hopefully you're surrounded by this type of supportive person. Now, some people may even take the leap with you, finding inspiration in what you're accomplishing, what you're doing yourself. They'll see that they can enhance their own lives for the better by just following in your example, in the example that you're setting. Now, other people in your life are only going to see what you are doing as a threat. Now, they might accept you and everything that you say on face value, and let's be clear here, most people are good people, and most people want to see you doing well. Most people. Now, everyone is going to see your choices and decisions from just their personal perspective, from their point of view. They can't help it. So they'll start asking themselves questions like, how are your choices and decisions going to affect them and their lives? How is your decision to stop drinking going to affect them and their lives? What's going to happen to them? A lot of this stuff is going to happen on a subconscious level, so they're not even going to know that they're doing it, but they do it anyway. Now, if your friends or members of your family, if they don't want to change, but your decisions are forcing change onto them, then the end result is going to be this conflict. Now, this conflict is driven by fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of involuntary limitations, let's say, fear of what others might say, fear of loss, fear of fear about their own self-worth. Fear can lead to irrationality, anger, and just even more conflict. Now, you can't please everyone, so don't even try. To limit this conflict as much as possible, you have to concentrate your efforts in taking the time to explain yourself to the people you care about, giving them a lot of advance warning about the changes that you're going to start making in your life. Let them know about your expectations, why you're taking these changes, why you're taking this decision to make the changes, and why the change is important to you, what you hope to achieve for yourself and for them. Also tell them that, you don't expect them to change. That's not part of your plan. Even though in the back of your mind you might hope for that kind of thing in the long run, which is what I do with a lot of my family. At the end of the day, it's inevitable that some people are just going to be upset by what you're doing. But that's their problem. As you know, your health and your well-being have to come first, right? If you don't look after yourself, how can you look after anybody else, anyone else? So above all, be patient with these people. They don't have the benefit that you've had in being able to think this through for a long time, which you've done. They can't see things from your perspective, only from their own perspective. So you have to give them the time to integrate your choices into their lives. That's what families do all the time. It's what good friendships do all the time. So thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of that video. If you have any questions at all, if you have any comments that you want to make, just leave a comment down below. If you have a second, you will be doing me a massive favor by just clicking on the like button down below. So again, thanks for watching. I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Onwards and upwards.